Jenny was driving late at night after visiting her parents who lived a few hours away. It had been raining heavily, and the road was slick. As she drove around a sharp bend, she felt her car hydroplane across the wet pavement. She struggled to regain control, but it was too late. The car slid off the road and flipped over, landing on its roof in a ditch. Dazed, Jenny unbuckled her seatbelt and crawled out of the smashed driver's side window. Other than some cuts and bruises, she seemed unharmed, but she knew she needed to get help quickly. She had seen a small country bed and breakfast a few miles back and decided she could walk there to call for assistance. Leaving her wrecked car behind, she began walking cautiously along the dark, wet road. The storm was still raging, making it hard for her to see where she was going. As she walked, she prayed a car wouldn't come speeding around one of the curves. After about 20 minutes, she finally arrived at the charming country bed and breakfast. There were a few lights on inside. Jenny made her way to the front porch and banged on the door, hoping to wake someone. A minute later, an elderly man opened the door, squinting out at her. "Are you okay, miss?" he asked, taking in her disheveled, bloody appearance. "There's been an accident," Jenny explained breathlessly. "I need to use your phone." "Of course, come in, dear," he said, ushering her into the cozy living room. He introduced himself as Walter and went to fetch the phone for her. As Jenny waited, she looked around at the quaint room with its flowered wallpaper and antique furniture. On one wall hung a painting of a girl who looked to be about 16 or 17, dressed in old-fashioned clothes. She was very pretty, with long chestnut brown hair and a gentle smile. Something about the painting was haunting and sad. Walter returned with the phone, and Jenny quickly called for help, explaining what had happened. After she hung up, Walter tended to her cuts, apologizing that he had no first aid supplies on hand. He kindly offered her some tea while she waited for the police to arrive to take her statement. As Jenny sipped her tea, she again looked at the painting on the wall. "Who is that in the picture?" she asked Walter. "It's very lovely, but she looks sad, as if waiting for someone who never arrived." Walter sighed sadly. "That's my daughter, Lily. She disappeared some 15 years ago when she was 17. The police could never find any trace of her." He gestured around the room. "I opened this place soon after in the hope she might find her way home someday." Jenny stared at him, stunned. "I'm very sorry," she said softly. As she looked from Walter to the painting, she felt overcome by a strange chill. The sweet, sad girl had such uncanny resemblance to someone she knew from long ago, someone whose face she had tried hard to forget. Just then, flashing police lights pulled up outside. As Jenny went to meet them, her mind was racing, piecing together buried memories of the bleak woods, the jagged rocks, the rushing river, and Lily's hand clutching hers before being swept under the dark water. A terrible secret from Jenny's past had come flooding back, and it seemed fate had delivered her right to Lily's doorstep after all these years. Jenny shivered, knowing this night was far from over. Justice would soon arrive on Lily's behalf. Jenny walked outside to meet the police officers, dazed by the flood of long-repressed memories that had surfaced after her car accident. She mechanically answered their questions about her car accident that led her to the bed and breakfast, declining to be taken to the hospital and opting to stay the rest of the night at Walter's. All the while, a teenage girl floated in her mind's eye, suspended in time as a painting at the house. Jenny spent a mostly sleepless night in the quaint guest room of the bed and breakfast, her mind plagued by torment. Fragmented images flashed through her mind: a raging river, Lily's pleading face, Jenny's own hands lashing out in anger. Wave after wave of long-buried guilt, shame, and remorse crashed over her. As the first dim light of dawn entered the room, Jenny sat up in bed, her whole body trembling. She knew she had to get away from this place that was dredging up the past. Slipping outside into the misty morning air, she headed for the woods behind the house, seeking solace. But as she wandered among the trees, the memories grew only more vivid. Jenny sank to her knees, pressing her fists against her head, willing the images to stop. But the ghosts of transgressions past refused to be silenced. Jenny's breath came in ragged gasps. She could see only one way to end this torment. With new resolve, she entered the tool shed and gathered coils of rope. Her hands shook, making it difficult to tie the ropes together. But after some struggle, she fashioned a crude noose. She flung the rope over a high tree branch and hoisted herself up on a log to secure it. Standing unsteadily with the noose now around her neck, tears streamed down Jenny's face. She whispered, "I'm sorry," to whom she did not know, and kicked the log out from under her feet. Jenny's body writhed and legs flailed as the rope pulled tight. She desperately clutched at the noose, strangling her throat as her broken blood vessels turned her face dark crimson. Jenny's vision blurred from lack of air. But just before blackness consumed her, she glimpsed the teenage girl's face again, now looking peaceful. Jenny went limp. It was over. A few hours later, Walter, the owner, noticed missing ropes and went searching the woods. He discovered Jenny's corpse hanging eerily from a tree, her face blue and swollen. Shocked, Walter quickly cut her down and laid her body on the forest floor. Though the poor girl was a stranger to him, Walter's heart ached for the tragic death that had occurred on his property. Unsure exactly what led Jenny to suicide, Walter knew he must contact the authorities. This was now in their hands. He called the sheriff's office to report the body. When deputies arrived, Walter led them to Jenny in the woods. They confirmed it appeared she had taken her own life. As the coroner took Jenny away, Walter said a prayer for her tormented soul. In the days that followed, Walter was haunted by the role his bed and breakfast had played in Jenny's sad end. Yet strangely, for the first time in many years, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. Looking at his daughter Lily's portrait, Walter suddenly felt her restless spirit was soothed. Tragically, someone else had now suffered at this place that had claimed Lily's life so long ago. Walter sensed Lily could finally be at rest, her pain eased by the terrible sacrifice Jenny made within these woods. Though he remained troubled by all that had happened, Walter took comfort in the notion that two lost souls might be redeemed. Like, share, and subscribe for more horror stories.